7 Action News This Morning starts right now.
Now at 6, 4 more years. Governor Gretchen Whitmer winning a second term. Challenger Tudor Dixon not conceding.
The results continue to trickle in. The major counties have a very, very long way to go.
What we're expecting in the coming hours from both campaigns.
Strong turnout happening now, ballot counting continuing into the early morning hours. The races that are still too close to call, and when we're expecting to see the final results here in Michigan.
Plus, Senate switch, the big headline coming out of Lansing overnight, what Democrats are poised to do for the first time in 4 decades.
Good morning, early risers. Thank you so much for waking up with us on this Wednesday after Election Day. I'm Alicia Smith.
And I'm Keenan Smith, and we're bringing you a special election edition of 7 Action News this morning.
That's right. The results have been trickling in since the polls closed at 8 o'clock last night. But the vote count is still underway at this hour in some communities, and it could be later today or even later before we know how everything's going to shake out.
As you wake up, here's a look at where things stand. These are the top 7 races and issues you need to know.
Governor Gretchen Whitmer clinching a second term in office over Republican challenger and newcomer Tudor Dixon earlier this morning.
Also returning for a second term, Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson. ABC News projects she will win her contest against Christina Karamo. The race for Attorney General, though, is still too close to call. Right now, Dana Nessel leads challenger Matthew DePerno 52 to 46%.
And Proposal 3, has been approved by Michiganders this morning, restoring reproductive freedom after the overturning of Roe versus Wade by the U.S. Supreme Court this past summer. Again, this enshrines reproductive rights into the Michigan Constitution.
Well, as far as congressional races in the 7th District, incumbent Alyssa Slotkins defeated her Republican challenger, Tom Barrett.
In the 10th Congressional District, between Republican John James and Democrat Carl Marlinga, still too close to call. James with a slight lead with 50% of the vote. Carl Marlinga with 47%, 95% of the precincts reporting there.
And shifting to mid-Michigan, Representative Dan Kildee is in a tight race this morning with Republican Paul Young.
Our team of reporters, of course, working so hard through the night to bring you the very latest on the results from all of the big races. Jen Shonsky, hey, Peter Maxwell standing by for us this morning.
And we also are joined by political analysts who are standing by to take a deeper dive into the races and the results. But we begin with Jen Shantz, who's live in Detroit with Governor Gretchen Whitmer winning a second term for Michigan's top office. Jen, what was the governor's message overnight, and how is challenger Tudor Dixon responding?
Well, we'll start, Keenan, with Governor Whitmer's message here behind me, the Motor City Casino. This was her headquarters for election night, along with other state Democrats. She had a cautious optimism, announcing her projected victory even before the Associated Press and ABC News formally called that victory for her. But energy was pouring out of these doors, inside and outside Motor City Casino. On the other side of the ballot, though, Tudor Dixon, her camp, has not yet formally conceded, saying around midnight that more votes needed to be counted. Cheers from Whitmer supporters inside and outside of the Democratic Watch Party at Motor City Soundboard this morning.
I'm just happy that she won because it's going to help the state of Michigan.
Even before the Associated Press formally called the race in Whitmer's favor, this Democratic voter was ready to call the night a success.
I guess it's not 100% yet, but it's pretty darn close. So just total excitement.
As a Whitmer supporter, you're feeling confident enough that you're going home tonight feeling like you have a victory.
Absolutely, absolutely.
The governor speaking around 1 this morning to her supporters.
We are waiting for some final numbers, and we do not want to keep you here all night long, but we are feeling damn good about where we are headed.
Meantime, in Grand Rapids, where Republican Tudor Dixon spent election night, disappointment early on after the race was first called for the governor.
You know, I think everyone's upset with the call that Fox News made.
Dixon's team not announcing a concession after that call, but rather doubling down, noting that votes are still being counted.
This race is going to be too close to call, despite what Fox thinks. The results continue to trickle in.
This is one of 36 governor's races around the country this midterm, and the first time in Michigan 2 women went head-to-head for our state's top elected position. Many Dixon supporters maintaining a sense of optimism for her political future in Michigan.
You know, if it doesn't work out, I think she's got a great future, a bright future here in Michigan, and I'm sure we have not heard the last of Tudor Dixon.
It was a late night. It's going to be an early morning. Governor Whitmer is expected right back here this morning at 8 o'clock. We're going to be hearing more from her. And at this hour, with 87% of precincts reporting, we have still not heard that formal concession from Tudor Dixon. I did reach out to her campaign via email and by phone. We're going to be continuing to follow up with her and bring you obviously the very latest from both campaigns throughout this morning. For now, live in Detroit, Jen Shantz, 7 Action News.
Yeah, it was the highest profile election in the state, millions and millions of dollars, and now the voters have weighed in. Thank you so much, Jen Shantz, for that report.
Well, let's take a deeper dive into the governor's race. Governor Whitmer has been declared the winner, securing a second term in office statewide. She has garnered 53.3% of the vote to Tudor Dixon's 45.1%. That's a difference of more than 340,000 votes, with 87% of precincts reporting. When you zoom in to Metro Detroit, you can see in Wayne County, Governor Gretchen Whitmer got more than 71% of the vote. A similar story when you jump over to Washtenaw County, more than 71% of the vote. In Oakland County, which over the last 30 years has turned from a red county to a blue county, more than 61% of the vote. And then jumping over to Macomb County, it was a much tighter race there. 50.9% of the vote to Tudor Dixon's 47.6%. And just kind of jumping back to 2018, it was also roughly a difference of about 12,000 votes or so back in 2018 when she was facing Republican challenger Bill Schuette. Keenan?
All right, thank you so much, Alicia. Well, here to bring us some insight into these crucial midterm elections, we're joined now by political analyst Dave Dulio and Mario Mauro. Thank you guys so much for waking up early. I know you haven't had much sleep. You've been poring over the results and watching things come in. What's your take on the race for governor? Let's start with you, Mario. I mean, what are you pulling away from this?
Well, you know, it was a close race. Both parties always anticipated it was going to be close, but Proposal 3 pulled women to the polls. Women came out. They delivered for Gretchen Whitmer, in addition to the college students, those young college students. So you had some different factors there that actually worked in the favor of Gretchen Whitmer.
Yeah, and Dave?
Yeah, I think the Whitmer campaign and Proposal 3 are linked here. And I think the early advertising that the Whitmer campaign and its allies did on the abortion issue did 2 things. One, defined Tudor Dixon before she could define herself in this race, and I think it really energized the Democratic base.
Yeah, they hit Tudor Dixon literally the day after she won that nomination. Commercials went up on the air.
Dave made a very good point. Money. Gretchen Whitmer's campaign had a ton of money, and I don't think Tudor Dixon could ever catch up with that.
It was saturation from the beginning that was hard to overcome.
Yeah. Now, Dixon has questioned the 2020 presidential election. Do we expect a similar play here? Do we expect her to challenge the results of these elections?
We were talking about that in the green room, and who knows, right? I think the margin here is pretty substantial. It's more than that 154,000 vote difference here in Michigan in the 2020 presidential. So, but never say never in politics.
And I wouldn't put it past her at all. Matter of fact, I think that we have a situation here where she hasn't even conceded yet.
Right.
So.
All right. Well, we'll be watching for any concessions that may come out. And, of course, we'll be checking back in with you guys for your insight throughout the morning. Thank you again so much for waking up with us. Alicia?
All right, thank you very much, Keenan. 6:08 is the time right now. A number of races are still too close to call at this hour. Results are still coming in slowly in several communities. But just moments ago, the city of Detroit wrapped up its ballot counting. And 7 Action News reporter Kira Hay is joining us live inside Huntington Place in downtown Detroit. Kira, the city was a little behind their anticipated schedule, but overall a smooth process?
Yes, I've been here since midnight, and I have to say it's been very smooth and uneventful. And as you mentioned, yes, every vote has now been counted. So what you're seeing right now is essentially the cleanup process. Now, we spoke to a poll worker who says she's been here since 6 a.m. yesterday, so she could not wait to get out of the door. But like you mentioned, Alicia, we were told things were going to wrap up here around 4 a.m., but they didn't conclude until after 5. So I asked, what was the holdup?
No last minute hiccups, some of the system issues came up that we were expecting, and it slowed things down. But for the most part, at 4 o'clock, we had 99.9% of all of the totals calculated for this particular election.
Now, despite being about an hour and a half behind schedule, it's important to note that we are still way ahead of when things ended in 2020. If you remember, the counting continued well into Wednesday afternoon, and that's despite the workers here having to process more than double the amount of absentee ballots. So it was a lot of smiling people leaving this location today, which is great to see. Again, a very smooth process. And coming up in the next half hour, we hear from someone who worked in 2020 and was very pleased with how things turned out here today. Live in Detroit, I'm Kiara Hay, 7 Action News.
We remember the protests that erupted for days outside the arena there, Kiara. It's much quieter so far, and that's good to see. Thanks for the live update. Now, for a full list of election results, all you have to do is visit our website to find what you want to hear and see about for your community. Just go to WXYZ.com. Kevin, a cold start again today?
Yeah, it's a cold start. We're talking about a warm-up, though. This afternoon, it's going to feel nice, but it is cold right now in the 30s and low 40s, so a heavy coat. And if you work outside, hat and gloves, a good idea, too, even though it's going to be warm up nicely this afternoon. It's cold right now. 38 degrees in Pontiac, all the way down to 32 degrees in Ann Arbor. It's 42 in Mount Clemens. So range there, low 40s to all the way down into the mid or lower 30s. By about 10 o'clock this morning, we're going to be close to 50 degrees. We're rolling forward into the afternoon. We'll pause at around 12:30, around lunch hour, upper 50s. Highs today rise to the low to mid 60s. I put the high at 64 degrees in Detroit. It'll be brighter this afternoon after some morning clouds. Some increasing clouds tonight keeps us mild. We'll have lows around 50 degrees tonight, but tomorrow soaring to 70 degrees tomorrow afternoon. Allie.
Taking a look right now at the morning drive. Overall, we're looking good. Northbound Southfield Freeway from I-94 in the Allen Park area up to the Lodge. That's a 9-minute drive. We are also looking good eastbound I-94 from Southfield Freeway to I-96. That's a 7-minute drive. Not seeing any backup this morning. That's reflected on one of our MDOT cameras. I-75 in Belford. Also, no major crashes slowing you down.
All right, thank you so much, Allie. Time now is 6:11. State Senate switch.
That's right. What Democrats may have been able to do in Michigan for the first time in 4 decades.
Plus, battleground counties ahead at 6:15. I hit the streets of Macomb County to see how voters feel about the overnight election results. You'll see that coming up on 7 Action News this morning.
As we continue our coverage of this high-stakes election, Michigan voters making their voices heard on abortion rights. Prop 3 has passed. 56% to 44% of the no votes. It restores reproductive rights in our state after the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade back in June. It now enshrines reproductive freedom into the Michigan Constitution. Proposal 2, which added voting policies to the state constitution, also passed 59% to 41%. Proposal 1 passing as well. As we take a look here, 65% to 35%. This will extend term limits and require some politicians to file financial disclosures.
Well, this morning we're waking up to the latest results of the 2022 midterm elections, and voters have made their voices heard loud and clear.
And this morning we're hearing from people who actually cast their ballots yesterday. 7 Action News reporter Peter Maxwell has been out all night long speaking with voters right here in Metro Detroit. So Peter, what's been the buzz? What have you heard so far?
Well, you know, the big buzz is that a lot of the people that we spoke with early this morning backed Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Now, we did speak with a couple of people who did back Tudor Dixon for governor, but the overwhelmingly part of the people that we spoke to did once again vote for Gretchen Whitmer.
Voters this morning in Macomb County waking up to the results of the 2022 governor elections and the proposals that were on the ballot. One of those voters in Macomb County is Antonio Edwards. He voted for Governor Gretchen Whitmer. One of the big issues for him was reproductive rights.
I think a woman should have the right to choose. It's her body, and no one should be able to dictate to them what they do with their body.
In the 2016 and 2020 elections, Donald Trump carried Macomb County. Republicans have also had a 7-6 majority in the county commission, and the district map was redrawn in 2021 by a 4-1 Republican board. Brian DeMuzio is a registered independent in Macomb County and votes for whatever candidate has the stronger message.
I didn't want Tudor Dixon, so I voted for Gretchen.
And why is that?
Because I don't like what Tudor Dixon says about the abortion laws and all that.
Queenie Powell voted absentee for Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Her big issues with the election were Prop 3 and COVID response.
When COVID hit, how Governor Whitmer, came and did everything she was supposed to do for Michigan.
Again, Proposition 3 and the COVID response were some of the big issues that had voters voting again for Governor Gretchen Whitmer overnight. Reporting in Macomb County, Peter Maxwell, 7 Action News.
Yeah, people waking up, still learning the results. I'm sure we'll be hearing more from voters later on today. Peter, thank you.
And overnight, we've learned that the Michigan State Senate may have flipped to Democrats for the first time in more than 4 decades. Let's bring back Mario Mauro and Dave Dulio for their analysis. Dave, let's start with you. What does that mean for Michigan?
It's a big deal. This means a lot. I think after 4 years of divided government with Gretchen Whitmer in the governor's mansion and Republicans in control of the legislature, we'll have unified government now, it looks like, as Democrats appear to be taking control of both the state Senate and the state House. This will make moving legislation through the chambers somewhat easier. Not easy, but easier than they've had for a while. And I think that it'll have a big impact on the Whitmer agenda.
And I think she's going to be very elated when this happens, because finally she can get some of her agenda items passed through. But she's going to have to be very cautious, because you don't want to overdo it and work with the other side of the aisle. But it's going to be very meaningful and very important for the Whitmer campaign to make this thing happen.
Well, let me ask you this. If both houses do flip from red to blue, what does it say about concerns about gerrymandering? And, of course, this is the first time we're actually voting with the independent districts done by the commission. Does that mean it was a success? I mean, what's your insight there?
I think it depends on what you mean, depends who you ask and what you mean by success, right? Because I think some folks in Detroit would have some complaints about how the maps shook out, how representation looks for voters in Detroit. But I think if we take a broader look at it, I think this is what the commission had in mind when they were drawing the maps.
Demographics have changed so much. There are black folks and other minorities living outside the city of Detroit. It's more of a melting pot. So I think this whole situation is going to make people become more educated, more focused on the individual versus the person or party.
All right. And, of course, we'll be watching that, and we'll be checking back in with you throughout the morning for your insight. Really do appreciate it. Of course, we have you covered with all of your election results. You can find your election results scrolling on the bottom of your screen. You can also find them at WXYZ.com. Alicia?
All right. Thank you very much, Keenan. 6:20 is the time now as we turn our attention to the forecast. A live look over the big house in Ann Arbor, and another cold start. Kevin?
Yeah, it is. It's a cold start, but we are going to be warming up in a big way this afternoon, at least starting this afternoon. It's going to get even warmer tomorrow. But right now, it's about 41 degrees in Detroit. A lot of us are waking up to temperatures in the 30s, so heavy coat still. Be prepared for a cold start. The wind, though, is light, much like yesterday morning, and we'll see some cloud cover this morning before the sun wins out this afternoon. A high of 64 degrees today. Average high is just 52 degrees. The record is 77. So once again, well above average, but well also shy of what the record highs are. So starting to warm up this afternoon. It is still cold this morning, so I want to reiterate that. So we're still looking at a cold start, but this afternoon it's going to be back to the low to mid 60s. A cold front arrives Veterans Day, and then temperatures start to tumble, and it's going to get cold and breezy this weekend. A few snowflakes also possible this weekend. Look at the temperature changes we're going through the rest of this week. 64 today, 71 tomorrow, 61 Friday, and then near 40 degrees for highs through the weekend and next week. And I think that's the pattern that's going to stick around through next week, where highs are going to be close to 40 and lows will likely be in the 20s most of next week. Looking at the futurecast, this is Friday morning at 8:30, and what you're looking at, widespread rain from the remnants of Nicole, which is a tropical storm right now. So tropical moisture moving up through all the way up to the Ohio River Valley, and then that's going to turn to the northeast. This cold front approaching from the west will help push that rain farther east of us, but there's a chance, depending on the timing of this cold front, that we pull in some of this steady rain Friday afternoon. Right now, all the models have been keeping the heavier rain east of us, but some light rain possible later Friday. And then as the cold air moves around on the backside of this low pressure system, we get lake effect snow showers over the western side of the state. We may pull in some of those mixed rain or snow showers late Saturday and also Sunday. Have a 20% chance of that. But headline definitely is that it's going to get warmer the next couple of days and then much colder this weekend.
Taking a look at our roads, I-75 in Holly from our MDOT camera where traffic's moving smoothly. One minor crash out there northbound I-75 after Dixie Highway. The left shoulder is closed, but it's not slowing down traffic.
All right, thank you so much, Allie. Time now is 6:23 in the playoff picture.
Where Michigan just landed amongst their rivals in the college football playoff rankings.
Well, taking a look at sports, the Michigan Wolverines have made it into the top 4 in the college football playoff rankings.
Right, go blue. This is a current look at the standings right now. The Georgia Bulldogs are at #1. Go Dogs. Also at #2, the Ohio State Buckeyes. #3, our Michigan Wolverines. And in the 4th spot, the TCU Horned Frogs.
All right, look at that. Undefeated all.